Now, we know people want to get back to work.
Will
the government be putting out a safe set of guidelines so people can do it in a responsible way?
And certainly that is what I've been working with across industries for the last couple of weeks, ensuring that small and family businesses in particular, we're about to, see the reopening of the Australian economy. Slowly, but it will be happening. And what we want to ensure is that as we restart Australia, you have your exit strategy in place. So you understand the particular needs of your industry, what the actual health requirements are for when you reopen, and you have a set of best practice principles in place. And certainly, we saw restaurant and catering the other day. They have formally released their best practice principles because they want to get back into business sooner rather than later. And they know when they're given that green light, they need to be ready to go from day one and show the Australian public that they can have confidence in those workplaces and that they have a COVID-safe environment.
What will those best practice guidelines look like, though? Practically speaking, how do you make sure that people can work together in a safe way and not transmit coronavirus?
Well, so in the first instance, you need to look at what are the overarching principles that are in place. So at this particular point in time, 1.5 metre distances in terms of our social distancing, or one person, depending on, the how big the shop itself is. And then depending on the industry, you'll do different things. So I've been talking to the fitness industry. They obviously won't be able to share equipment. You'll need to clean your equipment down after people have used it. This morning, I've seen that the Pilates industry are putting in place their best practice guidelines. If you're an industry like restaurant and catering, that you would actually normally handle money. As we all know now, we're not touching cash. What we're doing, though, is that we're actually utilising, say, PayPass. So depending on your industry, you'll need to look at what are your specific circumstances, and then you'll need to ensure that you put in place those best practice guidelines. And they will differ depending on the industry. But in terms of the social distancing and the space required between people in workplaces, within reason, that will be the same across Australia.
Will bosses ever be able to require employees to download the COVIDSafe app?
So big shout out there, the COVIDSafe app. Big shout out to the over 3 million Australians who have to date downloaded the app. This is one way of ensuring that we're that step closer to restarting Australia. And a big shout out to all of the small and family businesses who are out there promoting the downloading of the app because they know they want to get back to business sooner rather than later. And the way to do that is to ensure that we can control the spread of the virus. And that is what the COVID app, the COVIDSafe app entitles us to do. In terms of will it be mandatory, the Prime Minister has made it clear, no. It is a voluntary app. But if you want to go back to your pub, if you want to go and get that massage, if you want to go and undertake your Pilates lesson, if you want to sit down in a restaurant with your family, I would really encourage you, if you haven't already, download COVIDSafe because it really is a great weapon that we have to stop the spread of the virus and to get us back to normal sooner rather than later. Or should I say, Ashley, it's now the new normal. It's living with the virus but in that safe environment.
But there is the right of any employer to require things of their employees that aren't necessarily the law. So will there be anything stopping employers requiring their employees to download the app?
Well, at this point in time, the Prime Minister has made it clear that it is voluntary. What individual employers ultimately do would need to be conducted in accordance with the law. I haven't had anybody say to me to date that they are going to make it mandatory. But I have had so many small businesses, industry associations contact me to say we are out there actively encouraging people to download the app. To date, and it was only released, a few days ago, the 26th of April, in excess of 3 million Australians, which is absolutely fantastic. But we obviously want to see that number increase. And again, I go back to ask yourself that question, as so many are every day. Do I want to go to the pub again? Do I want to have that meal sitting down in a restaurant? Do I want to go to my cafe and sit down and have my coffee? You will be able to do that, but a lot of it is going to be, do we have the necessary response required in terms of stopping the spread of the virus? And that's all about the COVIDSafe app.
And now, if I can ask you about another topic of the day, the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in Victoria has compared coronavirus to the arrival of Captain James Cook. The Prime Minister's condemned those comments and said she should consider standing down. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Totally inappropriate. This particular person is the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in Victoria. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. It is devastating people's lives. It is decimating the economy. People look to you for the best available medical advice. They do not look to you for political commentary. And so I would endorse both the Prime Minister and even Peter Dutton's comments. Stick to your day job and do the right thing by the Victorian people. Concentrate on getting the right medical advice out, not indulging in political commentary, which is clearly now distracted from the messages we want to get out to people.